used to think that the town my grandma was called Lodz because it was spelled Lodz. But then I found out that it's actually pronounced Woods, and I can never figure out why. But I thought about that day, the transport, 1944, from Łódź to Krakow. There was my grandfather, his wife, and their two daughters. The wife and two daughters were killed, and then after the war, he had another wife and two daughters. But anyway, I was thinking about the train, cold at night. The old people didn't have a place to sit. It was so crowded. There's metal and wood and straw, and two young girls held hands with their mother. And the mother said to the crying daughters, "Do you remember that time in the summer, a couple years ago, we went to the lake and you went swimming?" And the daughter said, "Yes, yes." And she said, "Do you remember how warm it was?" And the older sister said, "It was so warm that when we got out, after 20 minutes, you couldn't even tell we'd gone swimming." Well, try to keep that memory. That was a happy memory. Try to keep that memory with yourself as we go to this place. And the mom said, "'Cause I'm not sure where we're going, but maybe there will be food. Maybe we can finally eat something." And then the younger sister said, "Do you remember when Dad used to work at the bakery and he'd bring home rolls? We would eat the rolls and they were so warm and delicious." And the mom said, "Yeah, I remember." And the other sister giggled at the memory. Uh, when they got to Krakow, the train kept going past Krakow. Krakow looked like such a big city. The train kept going all night. Finally got to the work camp. Finally made it to the work camp. There was lots of dogs barking and men shouting. And the father whispered, "Don't be scared. Don't be scared." But the daughters started crying and holding the mother. And when they got out, the father got separated from his wife and two daughters because he said the men will have to go this way and the women and children will have to go this way. So the father went and made his way to the men's barracks. And the mother and her two daughters stood in a long line. Stood in a long line. And again the mother said, "Remember the bread. The bread was so warm. Remember that bread." And she kissed her daughter's cheeks, and she looked up at the sky. And she said to God, "Please help me protect my daughters." And she held the daughters close. And then the soldier said, "You guys have to go clean up in that shower barrack over there." And they went into a room, and they said, "We're going to give you these clothes to get into, but first you're going to go into a shower over there. There'll be soap." And so then there's bunches of women and their children squeezed into the showers. Everybody waiting for the water to come on. And the woman held one of the daughters to her left chest and one of her daughters to her right chest and looked up at the vent. Instead of the water coming out that the people were waiting for, soon there was a smoky smell that came from top. And people started passing out and falling to the ground. As a mother held the daughter tight and said, "Close your eyes. Close your eyes and think about that lake that we swam in." And she said, "I'm so sorry, God, that I wasn't able to protect my daughters. But may we all be in peace." And they all fell into the ground together, and their spirits were received on the other side by other family members that had already gone. And my grandfather, in a barrack 200 meters away, opened his eyes and prayed, and then fell asleep.